Hello and welcome back to Off the Donut. Today we're joined by Shao from Social Smoker. If you say hi, it'll pop up.
Hello, I am here.
So Social Smoker is an acoustic emo side project based out of Bonn, Germany, that often features soft, heart-wrenching ballads laid over crooning and beautifully woven together guitar chords, all coming together to form often nostalgic yet lonely feeling songs. Their debut album, Hey, How Are You?, originally released on October 21st, 2020, is available to listen to on the streaming platform of your preference. And in case you missed it, I meant to grab it before, but I forgot. In case you missed it, you can order Blue Tinted cassette tapes featuring 3 bonus tracks, including a cover of Sunk Child's. Is it mirtazapine or mirtazapine?
It's mirtazapine, I'm pretty sure, but I
Okay.
think both work.
All right, yeah. So a cover of Sunk Child's mirtazapine over on Lilybird Records at limitedrun.com, which is also going to be linked in the description below. E-distribution for the tapes can also be found on the Social Smoker Bandcamp at
Yes, sir.
socialsmoker.bandcamp.com. How are you doing this fine? Well, for me, it's morning. It's like 4 o'clock for you
It's
there,
a
right?
big morning. Yeah, it's exactly 4 o'clock right now. Doing pretty good. Came home a bit late today, but I've just been chilling, doing some music work, whatever, and just got done with my mock exams. So
Oh,
I'm just
that's
partying for a bit for myself.
that's good. So we usually do like a bev check and a snack check. Because I woke up 30 minutes ago, I did not just I thought about it. We got some cheese
hmm
sticks downstairs. I thought about getting one, but I didn't. So I just
Damn.
have some water with me today. I think you have
Yeah.
some
Same
water
here.
as well.
Cheers.
Yeah, right. I
Stay
have a
hydrated, everyone.
I have a bottle that's similar to this that I keep at work. And every time one of the guys I work with sees me drinking out of it, he every single time he always asks me if it's milk, no matter
Of
what. It's
course,
it's
what
always
else would it
like
be, right?
milk. No. It's why would I be drinking just straight milk in the middle of?
Just straight milk at work. That's the vibe we're going for here, right?
I guess. Well, yeah. I last night he asked me again. I was like, why the fuck do you think I'm drinking milk every time? Like, what? Why is that the first place that your head goes to? And he's like, well, I
Silly
don't
boy
know.
thing. Whatever.
All right, so I'll go ahead and get started with some of the questions real
For sure.
quick. So where did the name Social Smoker actually come from? Because obviously it's sort of a popular phrase. Was there a specific reason why that one sort of stood out to you and why you decided to name the project that?
I was thinking a lot about like starting my project and whatever, and I thought a lot about names because I give a lot about like aesthetics and like bands and projects and whatever the fuck. And I was thinking of course like what would be like a cool band or project name or whatever, and also what could you actually like make like merch stuff and whatever for.
Hmm.
And I was talking to a friend, and there's not really that much backstory behind it. Behind like I was just starting to quit smoking again because I had a bit of a problem for a while,
Hmm.
and I started being a social smoker again, like I was at the start. And I guess I was just like, huh, that sounds like a pretty cool name. Let's look it up. And there was like one guy from Nashville who had also chosen that project name, but he didn't have anything up on Spotify or whatever. He makes like country music or whatever. So I
Yeah,
was
good
like,
for
yeah,
him.
okay, whatever, go ahead, I'll take it. And yeah, that's where it's come from, and I think it was a pretty good decision in terms of being able to make merch and other creative stuff from it. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think the merch that you put up recently as well, I think looked super sick. I was gonna get a one of the crew necks that has the little
Hmm.
ashtray on the front. I think I
Yeah,
really do like how it looks, but I don't have any money. So
yeah, it happens.
once I, once
No, I
I
feel it.
once I do, I'll probably snag one. But until
Hmm.
then, we
Yeah,
gotta
I'm
wait.
I'm keeping it up for a while probably, so it'll be there for a bit because I know, of course, at the moment nobody really has money, so
Yeah, no,
it's just how it is.
sometimes I think it's funny because I'll tell people if I'm telling them about like the merch for Graver's Lane and everything,
Hmm.
I'll usually end it by saying, "Yeah, I still don't even have one myself," and they're like, "What? Why? It's your project." I'm like, I never got around to
Yeah,
it.
it just happens. No, I ordered one of the hoodies for myself because I just love hoodies and I don't have enough enough of them. So I was just like, okay, it's whatever with like the base price thing on Teespring and whatever. But
Yeah.
I definitely feel it. I mean, I asked Klaus about if they actually
Hmm.
had a picture of their merch and how it turned out with Teespring, and they just sent me a picture of someone else, and I was like, don't you have one yourself? And they were like, nope.
Yeah. No.
I think this is not something unusual.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's your own band, and so you're just like
Yeah.
whatever about it. I'm not sure why, but that's. I feel like it does happen a lot where you're just like, whatever.
If other people think it's cool, that's cool.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of what it's for, anyways. If you're the
Yeah,
only one getting
exactly.
your merch, it's like, all right.
It's kind of sad though.
Yeah. So, for Hey, How Are You? Who did the actual art for the album? Do they have a social media at that you can throw up?
Yeah, the at is at super hella rad on Instagram, and I think on Twitter too. They actually have an artist account now, which they do commissions for and whatever, but I don't remember the name because it was made like 2 days ago. But
I could probably
yeah.
find it.
Yeah, probably. It's not hard to find. I think it's linked on that page. But yeah, my friend Hannah did it. She does all the art for all of Social Smoker stuff. She did
Hmm.
all the shirt designs together with me, all of the sticker designs that we put out or are working on, all of the tape designs, all of the covers and whatever. So she's basically just like the person behind all of the actual like drawing stuff because I have ideas, but I can't draw for shit. So it's just
Yeah, I
not my
get
strong
that.
suit.
Cool. So, when it came to getting the art for the album, was that something that you had kind of directed her towards, or were you just like, hey, this is the album, make something?
Yeah, no, the what we both turned out was what we learned that was actually like the best idea is just like brainstorming together because we both have a lot of like different ideas or whatever. So I just sent her the album, and she was talking about how like especially on like the earlier tracks and with all of the reverb drenching and whatever, she felt it was kind of an underwater vibe,
Hmm.
and I was like, yeah, that actually that fits pretty well. Like I think especially with like all of the colors, like all of the dark blues and whatever, I think
Hmm.
that definitely fits like the whole like more reverb drenched acoustic sound. So I was like, huh, what can we do for underwater stuff? So I just sat down with like a pen or something. That's what I usually do, and then just think about like concepts or whatever and draw the most horrendous like art you could ever think of. It's like
Yeah.
Stickman
Uh-huh.
and and just completely ugly, but just so she gets an idea of what I'm thinking of. And I was just like thinking of like the underwater vibe and how you could fit that together with the band name and the project name and whatever. And she came up with most of the outer water stuff there with all of the fish and jellies and whatever the hell. It's all
Hmm.
just her cartoony style. So it was kind of like working together after she gave me like a bit of inspiration for it. That's how we did it for most of the art, actually. Just like
Yeah.
brainstorming together.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the tape here just so I have like some additional reference to it, and
Yeah.
I don't know, when you first messaged me, I think I don't remember if you DM'd me or you emailed me or
I think
whatever
I
about,
sent you an email or something. Yeah.
yeah,
I
about
remember.
putting the tapes out. I went and checked it out, and I saw the album art, and album art's usually the first thing you kind of experience with an artist before you hear the music or whatever, and
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, whoa, that's like really fucking cool. Um, I don't know. I think it's like I like that idea of that little person in the bubble, like just texting someone like, "Yo, what's up?"
What's
Um,
up?
was there? Do you think it? Do you think? So when you were brainstorming and everything, was there
Mhm.
outside of just that underwater like reverb sound? Do you think there's any sort of other meaning that some of the art gives towards the album, or how it represents that through like some of the album's themes or that kind of stuff?
I think, well, kind of, because there's like a bit of like, of course, you can draw like metaphors to like emotional drowning, whatever the fuck. Although that sounds edgy as shit, but
Isn't that
no,
the
I think
point?
it's definitely like the thing about even the album title and whatever is that I was thinking of what I could call the album because, of course, it's about someone that I was pretty close to, and I just looked through like old texts and whatever, and that was just usually what I would get texted or text to someone like exactly in that way. So I was like, huh, I guess we can take that
Hmm.
and just try to implement it in the album in some way. And I think, of course, like the one of the interlude tracks towards like the middle to later parts, I think it's track 9 or something, uh,
Hmm.
which is also called like what was it, like a breath of fresh air in the midst of drowning, which
Hmm.
I made, and of course I made the title after we actually got the album out, because I wasn't completely done with the album, because I thought that it would just fit this underwater vibe and like gasping
Yeah.
for air and whatever, and like impending panic and whatever. So it's like I think you can draw some parallels between exactly that track and just the sound of the rest of the album with the cover art.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I know I said it a couple times already, but like genuinely, this is some of my favorite album art I've ever seen. I think it looks super fucking sick, and then I think it, just in that vein, also is something that really helps just convey the album sound without like actually needing to hear it.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I really love the cartoony-ish style that Hannah has in her drawings, which is one of the reasons that I work with her so much. It's just because I love like the individuality in it a bit,
yeah,
because I think it's very different from other art in the genre and whatever.
it's yeah, it's sort of simplistic, but at the same time, I think it does a lot for where it's at, and again, I think it looks really nice. So throughout the album, there are a couple different interludes in it, and there are a couple different song titles specifically that complete one overall sentence, which says, "In our early days, we promised each other to never leave." How do you think those songs specifically tie into each other? How do you think those songs, as well as the other interludes, sort of progress the album as a whole?
So the way I went through writing the album was that I actually intended for it to be like a front to back story,
Hmm.
and funnily enough, I came up with with the song titles before I actually wrote the songs.
Okay.
So that's what I did for this. I had like rough ideas of how I wanted to tell the story throughout the record, and then had like different parts of the album represent different times and whatever.
Hmm.
And I've always wanted to do like these like split song titles throughout an album, because I just think it's like a cool way to tie songs into each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially like the first track of those three is like the second track on the record, which is a mostly just like, it's not even really like a normal track or whatever like I wrote on the rest of the album. It's just like instrumental stuff with like some
Yeah,
spoken
those.
word over it.
Mhm.
And
No, but
and
I really
also
like that. That's actually
yeah,
one of my favorite tracks off of the album. I think especially because it follows The Novice, and I think that's a really good progression between the two.
yeah, and that track is the mostly about like after the novice, about like learning how to fall in love and like getting feelings for other people. And
Mm.
it also has a kind of bitter remark throughout the spoken word thing, like looking back and thinking that I was kind of stupid, but I guess that's just what happens every time, you know. And it ties together, like those sarcastic remarks kind of tie together with the other two tracks. The I think it's like the 10th track on the album. We promised each other, exactly. That's the 10th track, I think,
Mhm.
which is very much about like after a breakup, and like thinking about how you miss a person, but you also don't really want to be near them, because you know like it's gonna be hard to not like actually try to text them or be close to them again or whatever after a relationship is over.
Yeah.
And from that perspective of that song, you can look back on the second track and think like, yeah, okay, it probably wasn't the best idea in retrospect. And that's also kind of why there's these like sarcastic remarks in it about how dumb it was to actually fall in love that easily. And of course the last track then is like the end of the progression from loving someone to hating a person, basically, because stuff is over, to actually like reconnecting with that person when they're in a bad spot in their life, and then just thinking like, you know, even though we went through all of this, I still think that we two can be important for each other. And yeah, I don't want you to go. Or like in that instance, the song is about a person not dying in a when they're in a bad spot mentally.
Hmm.
And it kind of goes through this progression of like before a relationship, when you first fall in love, after a relationship, when you like notice like, yeah, okay, I guess it's over, but I can't really deal with it, and then going back and reconnecting with that person in another way.
Yeah. Um, I think you explained that pretty well. I don't have really much else to add to that. So for the obviously most people tend to lean into their influences. It's kind of just a natural progression of
Yeah.
making art in any sort of way. Are there any bands, visual artists, or musical artists that you feel sort of had a clear or large impact or influence on the album's content as a whole? Whether that's the sound of it, whether that's the tunings you use, whether that's the lyrics, any themes, any stuff like that.
So of course, everyone takes a lot of influences, as you said. Like that's just like a normal thing, especially I think in DIY when it's a lot of young people
Mm-hmm.
just getting to do their first musical stuff and whatever. I had a whole project before this one that I just yeeted out of the window because I listened to it back after like 3 months or something. I was like, this is just a copy of someone I like. This is not a good idea. I should probably not release this.
Do you want to say
But
who it was?
it was a lot of Scruff Puppy stuff. Who is
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. You've probably seen some of her videos on
Yeah,
YouTube, like some of like the bigger ones, like the little Peep covers or whatever the hell,
yeah,
and who used to basically only do covers of like DIY bands and whatever, or like indie folk stuff and whatever, and then went on to make their own music,
yeah,
and
yeah. I
I
always really enjoyed their stuff. It's good.
yeah, I really love it. I have their first record on
The
vinyl
Zombie
somewhere
Boy,
back
right?
here. Yeah, exactly. I have that on vinyl here, and I was very very inspired by them to make music because, of course, like it's a big inspiration to see someone popping off on YouTube like that, just
Mm-hmm.
doing covers, and then from that going over into their own music and actually like making good music, and just loving that record. And I think on the that first project that I scrapped, I basically just like stole a lot of chord progressions and whatever the fuck. But
Yeah.
then I was just like, yeah, okay, that's not a good idea. Let's redo this. Fuck this. And then went into like another kind of writing process. But I still am very heavily inspired by like that first record in particular, and especially some of the tunings. It's a lot of like open D and open C stuff that I recorded all of those songs in, and it's heavily inspired my writing process too. So like my approach to songwriting in general, and that's the first big influence. And I think the second big influence I have for the record is Wilbur, like Wilbur Soot. I don't know if you've seen him. Probably he's like the
The
Minecraft YouTuber guy.
Yeah, I didn't know does he make music, or is it you
He
just
makes he
enjoy
makes music.
his?
No,
Okay.
he was like purely just like YouTuber, whatever the fuck he did before Minecraft. I don't remember, but I got
He
into
did, it
his
was
stuff,
Soot House, I
and
think.
yeah, exactly. He was in the Sodaz collective, and he was like basically the person that ran that whole channel. But he went over to make his own content, whatever. He
Hmm.
now makes these like the biggest stuff that he makes are these like fake indie songs in a way, where it's just like heavily sarcastic like parodies of the genre.
Hmm.
But he also has a solo project which is just called Wilbur. He released an album last year called Your City Gave Me Asthma, and it's a really good acoustic emo project, which I was very surprised by
Hmm.
to hear from a YouTuber basically. And I learned about it because he made Crywang covers, which is
Oh, really?
probably my favorite band from this whole like anti-folk like acoustic emo-ish genre.
Hmm.
And that's how I found it, and I listened to it a lot during the writing of that album. And I think especially a lot of like the guitar style, like the way that he plays guitar, influenced me, and some chord progressions and whatever too. But yeah, that's another album that really influenced me. And I think it kind of flew under the radar outside of the community of his, actually, which is kind of sad because it's a really good record. If there was a vinyl of it, I'd buy it, but
Hmm.
I don't think he's done one yet.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I wasn't. I used to watch like Soot House in it was like late middle school, like early high
Oh
school.
yeah.
So yeah, my friend Liz got me into them. We would watch. Whenever I was over at her house, we'd always watch a bunch of their shit. So I think I didn't know that I knew that he had moved on to doing micro stuff, but I didn't know that he actually made his own music. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a very weird progression of character. from
Yeah.
from from reading Reddit stories to Minecraft to making emo music.
So those Reddit videos were fucking hilarious, though.
Really
Some
good.
of them,
Yeah.
I think they were especially good because a lot of them sort of bounced off each other.
Yeah.
So
I
like
mean,
one of them,
they kind of started that genre, didn't they? Because that got like gigantic on
yeah,
YouTube with even like these bots reading out
Yeah, but
Reddits and whatever.
those
But
ones are just fucking annoying. I
yeah, it's
some
just weird.
every so often I'll get one of them in like my recommended, and it'll have a picture of like Lois from Family Guy in the thumbnail, and like the you know what I mean? Like
Yes, I know
it'll have
exactly what
some
you mean.
random cartoon character in the thumbnail, or
And
like
then it's
sometimes
like
it'll be like
some random
thirst
Reddit.
trappy,
Oh
and
God,
just
yeah.
like yeah, it'll have the whatever the question is, and you're just like, oh my fucking god. Because I
And then
remember
it's like, doctors, what is the weirdest thing yet you've dealt with, or whatever.
yeah,
I don't
it's
get it.
at
No.
that point it's so much more interesting to read them yourself than have that
Yeah,
like
exactly.
monotone broken English fucking did 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 did. Did.
Translator thing.
Yeah,
I don't even
because
know what they use for that.
I have no idea. I remember the first time I saw one of those pop up in my YouTube recommended. I'd seen them in there for a while, and I was like, I had never like taken an interest in it, and I saw one video that had a particularly like interesting question. I don't remember what it was,
Hmm.
and I was like, you know what? I see these videos all the fucking time in my recommended,
Let's
so let me
try it.
just try it. And I think I got through 30 seconds because
Mhm.
obviously it's that text to speech voice, and I was like, this is terrible. I can't
It's
do
not
this.
what we want to do. No.
It's
Yeah,
awful. Um,
not a good time.
yeah. So for your music writing process, you are currently in the process of writing your second album, correct?
Yes,
And
basically in the writing process slash done with it, but it needs more
mhm.
layers.
What is it called again?
Seven Mountains. That's
Seven
what it's gonna be
Mountains.
called.
Okay. Can you could you talk a little bit about what it's going to be like, how the songwriting process has sort of differed between the first LP and Seven Mountains?
Yeah, of course. So the main difference is that I wrote Hey How Are You as like a concept record front to back with like having a whole story pan out through the album and writing from that perspective. So I had like an idea per song of the story that I want to portray in it, or like the feeling that I wanted to portray in it. And this time I kind of didn't burden myself with that idea of a concept.
Hmm.
And I just started experimenting with other musical styles and just started writing whatever the fuck felt right in the moment, and went from there and just started recording and going through all of the songs and whatever. So this time I didn't write it from like front to back and try to actually like tell a whole emotional story that I could explain in full myself, but I
Hmm.
just like went through situations and feelings and scenarios or whatever that I felt, and just started writing about these instead of just going front to back. And now in retrospect, I try to order it a bit, because I give a lot of shits about track listing for some reason. I don't think that that's a very common thing, but
Well, no, I think a good track list. I think a good like track ordering and track list can really make an album because
yeah, definitely.
I think there are some albums, especially like you know, like for example, like Dance Gavin Dance album.
Hmm.
Typically, their albums aren't really like conceptual in any way.
Hmm.
But like if they put like if off of Mothership, if they put Man of the Year at like as like the second or third song, it would not as have
It
hit
would not
as
work. Yeah.
hard as it did
True.
being the last track. So I think track listing can really um even obviously if it's a conceptual album, it's definitely important. But even if it's not, I think it can really help make or break an album. So
Yeah, so I've been trying to order them in a more like senseful way, from like a more or less developing story throughout, and like especially like a coherent musical story through it,
mhm.
like bringing back certain elements throughout the record, and trying to give like a bit of a change of pace throughout the album so it doesn't get boring. So that's mostly how I've been trying to work around that. But other than that, the songwriting process itself of going through like lyrics and whatever and referring to specific situations, still hasn't changed much. I think the only thing that's changed is that I started writing without music for the first time on this record. Like two of the songs, I think I wrote the lyrics while I was like on a bus ride or some shit, because I was just like
Interesting. Okay.
miserable, and I was like, okay, let's write this shit down and just like try to get it out or whatever. And then the next day I try to make it actually a song instead of just lyrics, and actually went like the backward songwriting process from what I usually do. Of normally I find like guitar riff or something that I want to work on musically or want to do musically, and then I write the lyrics. But I tried for the first time to actually like work a bit harder on the lyrics and write them without the music, and then build the music around that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's no, that's cool. It's definitely a different process. It's definitely
Yeah,
a
yeah.
much different process. That's I don't know. Yeah, typically that's sort of how I've done it. Most of the shit that I've written has usually been me writing stuff down beforehand, and then after like jamming around on my guitar for a little bit, be like, hey, this kind of works.
Let's do this.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's interesting though. It's interesting that that's never really been something you've done. It's for me specifically because that's how I usually do it. So, that's cool. Have you? Do you think you've enjoyed that more? Have you felt really a difference in it at all?
I think it's definitely like, of course, like a difference in workflow,
Mm-hmm.
because then I have lyrics and I have something I need to build around musically, which doesn't make it an easier process, but I think it makes it a bit of a more fun process to actually like know, okay, this is where I want to go with the lyrics. This is where I want like a part that actually like goes harder or actually like has more energy, and here I want it to calm down, and then go from that and just mess around on the guitar or whatever, and try to find bits that work and fit these bits and pieces together. It's a much more coherent way to write music, especially because you can't just like what I usually did when I started out writing songs. You just like freestyle the lyrics while playing guitar, and then record that and say, okay, fuck it, that's it, that's the song. I don't. It incentivizes me to actually work a lot more on the songs and the structure and the recording of it and whatever. And I think that's almost always a good thing. So
Yeah, no, yeah, forcing yourself to kind of pay attention more to everything and
yeah.
get down. No, I get that. So you again, I believe you said that was the record was called Seven Mountains, the new one, right?
Yes.
Is there a reason behind that? Does it tie into any of the songs? Is it one of those story so far things where there's not a title track, but they say the name of it in one of the songs?
Well, there is a title track, and it's going to be the last song on the record, probably.
Okay.
And Seven Mountains itself came as an idea to me because there's a place here, pretty much near where I live, which is called the Siebengebirge, which basically translates to like seven mountains or whatever, because it's just like a big like it's just like a part of the place here where you just have seven mountains stacked next to each other. It's hard to call them mountains; they're not that big. We don't have mountains here in Germany, but it's like
It's Seven
big
Hills.
hills, seven
Yeah.
hills basically. Yeah,
Okay.
and I remember from a very particular situation that I was in where that I can like memorize fairly well. Basically, I can really memorize like some points where I was going around with friends or going out by myself or whatever, and you can see them fairly well because the Rhine is very near me, and so we have very big bridges here, whatever, going over it. And if you're walking around on the bridge, like especially at night, you can see all of the hills
Hmm.
stacked next to each other very well in like starry nights and whatever, and it's just a mental image that's burned itself into my mind in a way. So when I thought of conceptualizing like a record or something, I was like, well, what do I where do I go from the last record? And I thought, okay, let's maybe try something else that I can like relate to in my actual like real life. And that's where that idea came from. And there is a title track, so
That's cool.
which ties into a story where I very clearly remember seeing them. So that's where that idea came from.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to ask is that if that's something sort of portrayed in the in that title track. Okay. One other question I got for you is there I believe you sent me the album and I think I got. Do you know how many songs are on it?
It's 10 now. I've been still adding and yeeting tracks out of it, so I should probably send you an updated version. But
Yeah, I think I got. I don't remember it quite well because I think I was doing schoolwork, but
it
I
happens.
believe I got I believe I got about 7 tracks in there, and I think
Mhm.
um, when you and I were talking at one point, you said you wanted to do some more experimental instrumental stuff on there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I kind of went to do and been working on a lot.
Is there has it been a different process for doing that kind of stuff, or are you just slapping sounds together?
Oh no, it's definitely a very different process, especially because like there's one just fully electronic track on the record. I believe it's gonna be track 7 or whatever. And making that song reminded me of how hard it is to actually make like beats and
Hmm.
actually like work on electronic music, because the work process and the workflow is just so different from everything I've practiced. It took me ages to put everything together.
Yeah.
But it's in the end it's like a same structural process, but you just have a different workflow because of like making like synth sounds and drums and putting it all together with effects and mixing it is a fucking nightmare compared to actually working with guitars. So
Yeah.
that's the main thing that I was worried about in doing more electronic stuff. And there's like a like electronic slash ambient interlude thing, which also had a lot of different like recording processes that I've never done before, that I just wanted to try and just like fuck around with and see what I can do in terms of ambient stuff with just my microphone that I have here.
Hmm.
And
You're just like
just
blowing
try
into
out
the
different
mic.
techniques. Kind of. It's just uh like the main thing that I did for it is that I put this mic here.
Hmm.
Say hello. I put this outside of my window here. Like I put my mic stand here. I put the mic outside of the window at night or whatever, and then I just like let it record on full gain for like a second or something, and just see what the fuck is going on outside in terms of sound. And it actually like kind of works, because you know there's like, especially here we have like a lot of trains going around and whatever, so you can actually hear the sound of the trains going by, there's wind blowing, whatever the fuck. And there's just a lot of different weird small sounds that you wouldn't really hear outside otherwise. And I did that for like 2 times and just sidetracked it together and put it together with some other recordings that I've had flowing around for a while, because I just thought they were cool. And then put some electronic piano stuff, whatever, behind it to give it more of a like actual body
Hmm.
behind the sound instead of just being noise.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's cool though. Well, I'm excited to hear the more updated stuff. That's all I got for you today. Do you have anything else you would like to add? Any stuff you want to plug? Any of that kind of thing?
Yeah, we got merch, so go look at the merch. It's on my Twitter, it's in my link tree, it's wherever the fuck. And if you want to buy a cool shirt or crew neck, it's still available, and it's gonna be available for a bit more. And outside of that, not really. I think that's it.
Okay. Well, if you guys do want to check, you guys do want to check out his stuff, it will be linked in the description below. Yeah, it's been cool talking with you. I've appreciate you coming on.
Sure.
Again, if you have missed it, we got tapes up on the Lonely Bird website. Those will also be linked in the description below.
Go cop
For
them.
e-distribution will be on their Bandcamp. Yeah, check it out. It's a good fucking album. It really is. And yeah, buy our shit.
Buy our shit. That's
Buy
the
our shit.
sentiment of the
That's that's
episode. I
that's
agree.
the closer track. That's the closer statement of this episode.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you again. Until next time, we'll see you later on Off the Donut.
Goodbye.